From Lagos, the nation's commercial capital, this is the News at 10. Live from Channels Television. Reporting tonight, Amarachi Ubani.
Tonight, 9 people are known to have died after a gas explosion in the Sabongeri area of Kano. Vice President Yemi Oshibajo visits scene, expresses condolences to victims' families. NBA shelves conference in Sokoto following the murder of students of Shehu Shagari College of Education, calls for swift prosecution of suspects behind the killing of Deborah Samuel. AFDB President Dr. Kiwumi Adesina says he's not running for the office of the President of Nigeria in the 2023 presidential election. Justice Amechi Akpabio, Ayem and Wike continue their consultations. And President Buhari today meets the Olu of Warri, also hosts Secretary General of ICAO, promises to ramp up aviation infrastructure in the country.
On business news tonight, insurance sector operators from the West African Monetary Zone converse support for penetration of the industry within the African continent.
On sports news tonight, Frankfurt and Rangers set for tomorrow's night Europa League final in Seville as both teams look to end their long waits for European glory.
And from the nation's capital, families of victims of the Abuja-Kaduna train attack threaten to disrupt resumption of train services on the route on May 23, the proposed date for resumption of operations by the Nigeria Railway Corporation.
And in international news from London, Ukraine confirms that hundreds of its fighters trapped in the Azovstal steel plant in Mariupol have been evacuated.
At least 9 people have been confirmed dead following a gas explosion in the Sabongeri area of Kano State earlier today. Explosion, which occurred near a private secondary school, damaged a residential building and affected part of the school. Eyewitnesses, however, reported it was a bomb explosion, a position countered by both the police authorities and the state government.
The explosion roused members of the Sabongeri community at about 8:45 a.m. and this attracted crowds who gathered at the scene unaware of the exact cause of the explosion. Some of them volunteer information on the explosion and what they saw happen at the scene.
See one car, the car just come in and park. As the car park, we don't even know whether that inside the car or all of a sudden we just hear the bomb blast. We just hear everywhere shake. The students inside the class, as you can see, the school, it affected the school. So we don't even know what happened that they bring bomb blast to us in this Sabongeri. So the government need to come inside and know what to do with this thing.
The bomb started around to 9. The explosive around to 9. Yeah, so it's in front of the school. They didn't enter inside the school, in front of the school. That's what that happened. So we have many injured, both students and the teachers, and the parents that bring the school, the tuition inside the school.
Sympathizers, emergency workers, as well as the brigade commander in the state and his officers swung into action to help manage the situation. Kano State Police Commissioner arrives the venue and tells newsmen later that it was not a bomb explosion, but a gas cylinder that exploded very close to a welder's workshop.
We had an information of explosion here in Sabongeri, and we had to rush down with our experts, that is the EOD personnel. You know, if you can see, they said it was an explosion, bomb explosion, but sincerely, it's not bomb explosion. It's gas cylinder explosion.
He further stated that rescue workers are making efforts to rescue people trapped beneath the rubble of the building where the explosion occurred.
As at now, these are the only 4 casualties that we have. And I want to emphasize that it is gas cylinder explosion. It's not bomb explosion at all.
Latest information from the National Emergency Management Agency in Kano puts the death toll at 9.
9 dead bodies were recovered from the collapsed building after the explosions. and have been deposited at the morgue at Armed Forces Specialist Hospital. Injured victims by the explosion were taken to various hospitals.
But in the coming days, it may become clearer the number of those who lost their lives from this incident, and that will be when search and rescue exercise comes to a conclusion.
In the meantime, the Deputy Governor of Kano State, Dr. Nasir Gawuna, has been speaking about the gas explosion in Sabon Geri area of his state. The Deputy Governor, who attributes his late arrival at an event to the incident, affirms that it was not a bomb explosion, as reported by eyewitnesses, but a gas explosion. He also warns Kano residents to avoid spreading rumors.
Let me start by commiserating with the people of Kano State with the sad incidents that we woke up today. That is the gas explosion at Sabon Geri. Alhamdulillah, it has been confirmed that it's a gas explosion, not a bomb as had been speculated. And I'm using this medium on behalf of His Excellency, the Executive Governor of Kano State, to please implore people that there is no benefit in spreading rumors to something that will cause chaos, friction, and fear among our populace.
Meanwhile, Vice President Yemi Oshibajo has visited the scene of the explosion that happened earlier today in Sabon Geri. Professor Oshibajo was accompanied to the scene by Governor Abdullahi Ganduje of Kano State as response teams continue to restore normalcy. The Vice President was in Kano to consult with party delegates, but had to stop over at the scene of the blast to assess the level of damage and commiserate with families of the victims.
Commiserate with the residents here, some of the families who lost some members of their families, and some of the children who were injured. We're told that this was his last coming from gas cylinder. Well, there are several, 9 in all. Died as a result of this accident. Children in the school crossed. This is very, very, very sad.
Well, the Nigerian Bar Association has condemned the extrajudicial killings in any part of the country, describing them as reprehensible, barbaric and unacceptable, citing 2 specific cases, that of the murder of Ms. Deborah Samuel, a 200-level student of Shehu Shagari College of Education, for alleged blasphemy in Sokoto State. Although the state government has instituted an inquest into the case and the federal government ordered an impartial investigation into the matter, the NBA maintains a lot more still has to be done in terms of prosecuting the suspects. The second case is that of a young man identified as David in Lagos, who was reportedly lynched by commercial motorcyclists around Lekki. The NBA has asked the government to immediately commence the prosecution of all suspects involved. A statement by the president of the bar, Mr. Olumide Akpata, says the NBA has also cancelled its annual conference of the Section on Public Interests and Development Law, SPIDL, scheduled to hold next week in Sokoto, citing insecurity and as a mark of respect for the memory of the slain Deborah Samuel. The Northern Elders Forum has denied claims it released a statement calling on a section of the country to secede. In a tweet by the spokesperson of the forum, Dr. Hakim Baba Ahmed, he says it did not release such statements as it's being circulated, while calling the government to ensure it protects its communication channel. Earlier, the presidency had reacted to the said statement, criticizing the Northern Elders Forum for promoting disintegration. A statement by the presidential spokesman, Garba Shehu, had described the statements as delusional arrogance, which would lead to a group that will lead a group to publicly state terms and conditions for the existence of our nation and calling on everyone to come together and work for the good of the country. The Minister of Information and Culture, Alhaji Lai Mohammed, has asked Facebook and other social media platforms to stop allowing the proscribed indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, to use their platforms, incite violence and instigate ethnic hatred in Nigeria. He made the call during a meeting with a team from Facebook in Abuja. A statement from the office of the minister notes that IPOB has been proscribed and classified as a terrorist organization, and Facebook has no justification for yielding its platform to the organization to further what he calls campaign of destabilization of the country. He calls for better action by the platforms. And the president has promised to scale up investments towards aviation infrastructure and facilities in order to advance an environmentally friendly, sustainable and safe civil aviation. The president made the promise when he received the Secretary General of the International Civil Aviation Organization, Mr. Juan Carlos Salazar, in his office. He notes that with the establishment of the Aerospace University in Abuja to ramp up research and development, Nigeria is looking forward to increased support from ICAO under its No Country Left Behind initiative. Our State House correspondent Gloria Omezoke reports.
Nigeria's aviation infrastructure comes under focus as the President, Muhammadu Buhari, receives a delegation led by the Secretary General of the International Civil Aviation Organization, ICAO, Mr. Juan Carlos Salazar, in his office.
Officials.
Since 1962, when Nigeria became a member of the ICAO, the President affirms that domestic and international traffic has grown exponentially from 8 to 18 million, particularly in the last 4 years.
Nigeria will continue to make significant investments in the provision of aviation infrastructure and facilities for safe, secure, environmentally friendly, and sustainable economic development of international civil aviation. We will also keep supporting the ideals and aspirations of the International Civil Aviation Organization and the achievements of its strategic objectives in collaboration with other member states of the organization.
In a separate chat, the Secretary General applauds Nigeria's leadership role in civil aviation.
Nigeria is a member of the Council of ICAO, is a member of the Board of Directors for Civil Aviation worldwide, and from there exert important leadership and contributions to the world of civil aviation.
The Minister of Aviation explains the current aviation fuel scarcity in the country.
In Nigeria, we have also the peculiarity of the fact that we are not able to refine the product, or we are not refining the product, so to speak. And we hope that Jet A1 will be very available everywhere and at a very good price. And we even hope in the future that we are going to do away with all these carbon emitters and to have much more cleaner energy.
Moments after, the President met with the Olu of Warri, Ogiame Atuwache III, in his office. For the second time since his coronation, the President meets with the 21st monarch of the Warri Kingdom in a private meeting, details of which are not disclosed. In January this year, the monarch visited the State House to express appreciation to the President for his solidarity, while pledging the loyalty of the Ishekiri people to a united Nigeria. From the presidential villa, Gloria Umezuke, Channels Television News.
In part two after the break, AFDB President Dr. Kiwumi Adesina says he's not running for the office of the President of Nigeria in the 2023 elections, just as Amechi, Akpabio, Ayim and Wike continue their consultations. That will be in a moment. Join us again. Welcome back. If it has joined us, watching the news at 10 live on Channels Television Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. 9 people known to have died after a gas explosion in the Sabon Geri area of Kano. Vice President Yemi Oshibajo visits scene, expresses condolences to victims' families. NBA shelves conference in Sokoto following murder of student of Shehu Shagari College of Education. Calls for swift prosecution of suspects behind the killing of Deborah Samuel. AFDB President Dr. Yemi Additional says he's not running for the office of the President of Nigeria in the 2023 elections. Justice Amechi, Akpabio, Ayim and Wike continue their consultations. And President Buhari today meets the Olu of Warri, also hosts Secretary General of ICAO, promises to ramp up aviation infrastructure in the country. And this just in, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, the EFCC, has arrested a former Speaker of the House of Representatives, Patricia Ete, over allegations of fraud involving an NDDC contract. Ms. Ete was arrested today by the Anti-Graft Agency in Abuja and is undergoing questioning by the agency. Her arrest comes barely 24 hours after the Anti-Graft Agency arrested the Accountant General of the Federation, Mr. Ahmed Idris, in connection with alleged diversion of funds and money laundering activities to the tune of 80 billion naira. President of the African Development Bank, Dr. Yemi Additional, says he will not be contesting for the office of President of Nigeria after support group purchased and submitted the 100 billion naira presidential form for the AFDB boss last week. In a statement personally signed by him, Dr. Additional said he appreciates the sacrifice of those who bought the forms. However, he says his responsibilities at the AFDB will not allow him to accept to be considered for such. According to him, I remain fully engaged and committed to the mission that Nigeria, Africa, and all non-African shareholders of the African Development Bank have given me for Africa's development. A former military head of state, General Yakubu Gowon, is urging Nigerians to love each other and speak with one voice in electing credible leaders for the country come 2023. The general stated this while playing host to the immediate past former Minister of Niger Delta and presidential aspirant of the All Progressives Congress, Mr. Godswill Akpabio, at his residence in Abuja. He notes the most challenges presently facing the country are due to lack of love among citizens, adding that it's time for citizens to develop the spirit of patriotism and love for the nation.
Whatever it is, we've got to maintain, to love our country, to love Nigeria, and to ensure that our kids are unity. And to me, unless you love Nigeria without any other consideration, good or bad, rough, whatever it is, you've got to love Nigeria, but to do whatever you can to help to make it better. My hope at the end of the Civil War is that I hope Nigeria will never again see this problem, insecurity, as it was feeling. And this is why I have pleads for Nigeria. And of course, I continue to pray to God for the peace of Nigeria. May God touch the heart of every Nigerian, those who are doing the sort of thing they're doing and creating the problem of insecurity in the country, as well as the good other Nigerians who are praying for something to happen to bring about peace in Nigeria.
Staying with electioneering, the leadership of the All Progressives Congress in Taraba and Adamawa states have pledged their support for APC presidential aspirant Rotimi Amechi in the forthcoming primary election on May 30. They gave the assurance during a visit by Mr. Amechi to the two states to consult with party delegates, asking for their votes in the election.
In continuation of his consultation with APC delegates in states across Nigeria, Honorable Amechi is visiting Taraba and Adamawa states. In Jalingo, the Taraba state capital, the presidential hopeful presents himself to the delegates, promising to boost agricultural production as well as inject more life into the Mambila hydroelectric power station.
As a Nigerian community, we must learn to manage ourselves. And we are blessed because no matter what we do about agriculture, this part of Nigeria will continue to produce the food we eat. You know that? Trust me on this. I'm going to invest on Mambila. Take it for free. I know what is wrong with Mambila because I was among those who went to negotiate it in China. So if you vote for me, you're voting for yourself because when we decide to work on Mambila, the jobs that we created there, people from Ubiba will not come and work here.
Speaking on behalf of the delegates, Chairman of the APC in Taraba State, Ibrahim El Sudi, promises victory for Honorable Amechi in the state at the primaries.
Sir, we are assuring you that at least 70% of our votes will come to you.
90. I beg you.
Okay, you agree that it should be 90? So our area has already spoken, and therefore we should be guaranteed of 90%, sir.
Honorable Amechi equally pays homage to the Emir of Jalingo in his palace for his royal blessings. From Taraba, the team continues to neighboring Adamawa, where the presidential hopeful consults with party delegates in the state. The secretary of the APC in Adamawa State, who represented the chairman at the event, appreciate Honorable Amechi for his love and support for the state and the North in general.
You have done a lot for His Excellency Governor Bindu. And we know also you have done a lot for Barrister Mustafa. We here in Adamawa State, we appreciate you for all this. You are being Dan Amana. It's not only Dan Amana Daura, but Dan Amana Arewa.
The former minister promises accelerated industrial development in order to reduce the rate of poverty and crime in the country if elected president.
We'll go back to the agrarian economy as crude as it is, as rudimentary as it is. We must go back there to enable us to create jobs for people. Develop the steel industry. I've never seen an economy that grows without a steel industry. We don't have one.
The presidential aspirant's entourage to Adamawa State terminates with a visit to the Emir of Yola in his palace.
Former Senate President Anyim Pius Anyim, who's contesting for the office of President on the platform of the PDP, has visited Oyo State in continuation of his consultation with party delegates. During his visit to Ibadan, the Oyo State capital, where he addressed delegates from the state, Mr. Anyim promised to do everything possible to change the narrative and to restore the consciousness of Nigeria to that of growth and development. During a courtesy visit on the governor's office earlier, State Governor Seyi Makinde said he was satisfied with the quality of aspirants in the PDP and calls for unity of purpose.
Officially introduced to this gathering
the former president of the Senate, Anyim Pius Anyim, and his entourage in Ibadan, the Oyo State capital, to meet with PDP delegates. But before that, he pays a visit to Governor Seyi Makinde in his office. Senator Anyim notes that what Nigeria needs is a president that can harness the nation's potential.
Nigeria is a country in search of nationhood. Nigeria is a nation in search of conscience. We must come together to have the consciousness that we have no other country than here for us to generate the patriotism and commitment to build our nation. We must be conscious of the fact that if we don't build this nation, that nobody from outside will come to do it for us.
Governor Makinde, on his part, believes Senator Anyim has what it takes to be Nigeria's president.
You are eminently qualified to be the president of this country. But at the end of the day, it's only God. We cannot try. It's only God that will give her power. We have to keep, seeking for alignment. If we go to the convention, in unity and alignment, we are better that way. Thank you very much.
Next, the PDP presidential aspirant meets with delegates at the government house, where he presents his plans.
I understand the country. With my knowledge and exposure, I know that the problem are not the symptoms we are seeing. The problem is deeper than those symptoms. The problem is that we have to correct the foundation of our nation so that we can build on a solid foundation for growth, for peace, for prosperity.
More important to the presidential aspirant is the need for all the delegates to remain united so that the PDP can win next year's presidential election.
Also seeking support from party delegates is River State Governor Nyesom Wike. At this time, he's in Kebbi State, where he said the problem of Nigeria is that of leadership, failure, and not lack of economic power. He said Nigeria has enough financial resources to turn the fortunes of the country around, but lacks the strategic plans for its actualization. Governor Wike said this while wooing PDP delegates in Kebbi State.
Nigeria has money. Let nobody deceive you. Look, no president can do it. Anybody who comes there to tell you, you know, I was a trader, I was this, that is your business. This job is not for a trader. It's leadership. The president cannot be Minister of Health. The president cannot be Minister of Finance. The president cannot be Chief Economic Advisor. The duty of the president is to be able to assemble the best brains, put them together, supervise them, and make sure the jobs are done. That is the duty of the president. The president cannot be an Attorney General. Even if I'm a lawyer, I cannot do the Attorney General's work. But I will get one of the best and make sure the Attorney General does his work.
Still ahead on the news at 10, we'll be heading on to Abuja studio where we'll take an update on the families of the victims of the Abuja train attack. That's in a moment. Do join us. Delta State High Court in Kwale has discharged an order restraining the board of the Central Bank of Nigeria from initiating a process to remove the current governor of the Central Bank, Godwin Emefiele, over his ambition to run for the office of the president during the 2023 elections on the platform of the All Progressives Congress. Justice Daniel Maido granted the order following an application filed by one Nkwo Augustine Ediego as the applicant, while the board of the CBN and INEC were the defendants. In the enrollment order, the applicants sought an interpretation and supremacy of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria over the provision of Section 9 of the CBN Act 2007 as amended. The court held that the applicants complied with Order 39 of the court rules and that the applicant also deposed to an affidavit of urgency. The case has been adjourned for hearing to May 25th. Unless something urgent is done by the national leadership of the People's Democratic Party to reverse the situation, a number of delegates are on the verge of being excluded from the party's national convention. The delegates aware of this are calling for the conclusion of the state's Congress, since the ward and local government congresses have been concluded and ratified by the party. They appeal to the party's National Working Committee to step into the matter urgently.
And that's how trouble started after an inconclusive state Congress by the Jibrin Ahmed-led Congress Committee. The disagreement followed the non-arrival of the original copies and the insistence of the committee on using photocopy sheets for the state Congress. This was opposed, and weeks after, party members gather at the party secretariat in Oka to appeal for another date to hold the state Congress.
We urge the national chairman and all members of the National Working Committee to forthwith conclude the State's Congress in Anambra State before the National Convention having concluded and ratified the words and the local government progresses, and same having been affirmed by a final judgment of the High Court of Anambra State, and same being the list of vessels as monitored and certified by INEC.
The party members further expressed disappointment over the development and warned of the dangers of delaying the Congress further.
It is unfortunate that is encapsulated in airiness and weirdness that up until this moment, Anambra State has not had its Congress.
The implication of what they were doing is to make sure that what happened in some other states like Rivers State in the last governorship election and Zamfara State happened in Anambra.
The party members are threatening to take their grievance to court if they do not get positive response from the national headquarters of the party.
In another development, APC presidential aspirant Governor Kayode Fayemi of Ekiti State has described as spurious an allegation by a former national chairman of the party, Comrade Adams Oshomole, that he once asked him to rig an election in his favor. A statement by the governor's spokesman advised members of the public to disregard the allegations by Comrade Oshomole, whom he says is yet to recover from his removal as chairman of the APC. The statement reads in part, "The allegation which was made on the national television is not only false, puerile and laughable, it is a figment of the imagination of the former APC chairman, as Governor Fayemi has never asked Oshomole to rig any election for him or any other person and never had any reason to ask for such." The statement further says the governor remains steadfast in the pursuit of his aspiration to get the APC ticket for the 2023 presidential election, and no amount of mudslinging will distract him. And on a programming note, the full interview of the former national chairman of the APC, Comrade Adams Oshomole, will be coming up tomorrow, Wednesday at noon on our program, Political Paradigm, right here on Channels Television. I'm going to toss it over now to Terry in Abuja, who has updates on the families of the victims of the Abuja train attack. Terry?
Well, hello, Amarachi. Relatives of the 61 abducted passengers of the March 28th train attack have vowed to disrupt the resumption of operations until all their loved ones are rescued by the federal government. The management of the Nigeria Railway Corporation had announced that train services will resume on Monday, 23rd of May. Chairman of the concerned relatives of abducted persons, Mr. Abdul Fatai Jimo, accused the NRC management of being insensitive towards the plight of the victims and their families. He appeals to President Muhammadu Buhari to facilitate the speedy rescue of the kidnapped victims.
It is disheartening to hear this from Nigeria Railway Corporation, because our people are still in captivity and they are talking of resuming operations. It's the height of insensitivity. It is the least we expect from NRC. We don't expect to hear that from them now. They should concentrate all their efforts on securing the release of our loved ones in captivity. Today is the 50th day they have been in the bush. In fact, most of our members now, many of them are going insane. I can tell you that because I interact with them. The president made it very clear that they should be giving us a minute-by-minute account of the efforts of government in rescuing our relatives so that this can calm us down. We have not had a word from them since that time. It's 2 weeks now. Nothing has been done. We are going to have a comprehensive response to this, their press release, by tomorrow. And we are not happy about it at all. And we are not going to, we don't agree with them, and we are insisting that they should not resume services. They are on social media. They are seeing the comments of Nigerians. Nigerians are not ready for this. Nigerians are angry. In fact, I can tell you authoritatively, some of our members now are almost going insane. There was a member that wanted to commit suicide. He's an adult. His wife is there. He feels life is meaningless. He wanted to kill himself. What of the people in captivity? How are they feeling? What is their condition now? Their mental status, their physical status, their psychological well-being. All these have been disrupted. And yet you are talking of resuming. Is life not more important than revenue that you're going to derive from resuming services? Just one Nigerian life, a Nigerian citizen, is more than all what they are thinking they will get from the service.
The Vice President, Professor Yemi Oshibajo, has been awarded the Leadership Group's Person of the Year 2021 and he is dedicating the awards to all Nigerians devoted to national development. He shares the Person of the Year award with the Director General of the World Trade Organization, Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala. Other awardees at the event held in Abuja include state governors, politicians, businessmen, amongst others. The Vice President thanked the leadership group for the award, reminding the guests of the importance of what he described as the progressive ideology. The Minister of Women Affairs, Mrs. Pauline Tallen, is asking the National Agency for the Control of AIDS to prioritize women empowerment and girl-child education to realize the goal of eliminating all new HIV infections by 2030. The minister made the appeal at the meeting of NACA in Abuja, where members are meeting to take stock of HIV and AIDS response in Nigeria. Nigeria has a high burden of new infections in Africa, with a record of 34,800 new infections and 45,000 HIV-related deaths in 2019. Members of the National Council on AIDS, comprising the Federal Ministry of Health, State Commissioners of Health, and Development Partners, meet in Abuja to take stock of the country's response to HIV and AIDS in Nigeria.
The theme for this event is very fitting.
Nigeria has a high burden of HIV infections, with an estimated 1.7 million people living with the virus as at 2020. However, the record is an improvement over the estimated 1.9 million recorded in 2017.
Nigeria appreciates you.
Discussions at this meeting focus on sustaining the gains made against the pandemic since 2015.
The stage that we are in this response, we're looking for innovations, for the program to be injected with innovations, with great ideas around sustainability, with ideas on how the program can be taken to the state level for greater impact.
Nigeria recorded 34,800 new HIV infections and 45,000 HIV-related deaths in 2019. Notwithstanding, the government is hopeful that the situation will change for the better by the end of 2023.
There is real light at the end of the tunnel, and the end of HIV transmission is truly near in sight in Nigeria. Give us the next 1 year, at most the next 18 months, we'll come back here and we'll have beautiful discussion.
In her remarks, the Minister of Women Affairs stresses the need to prioritize women empowerment and girl-child education to effectively eradicate HIV infections.
Education and empowerment of the woman and the girl-child in their diversity will be the panacea in addressing the pandemic before us. We therefore appeal to all delegates at the states that are here to know that your strongest allies are the Ministry of Women Affairs at the state level.
Nigeria is targeting the elimination of all new HIV infections by the year 2030. Experts say if this goal is to be achieved, the country must scale up advocacy on testing and treatment and also eliminate all barriers to accessing antiretroviral drugs. Falcon Corporation and the Western Midstream Limited and FHN Gas Limited have formed a consortium to exclusively build, own and operate a natural gas distribution infrastructure network within the Lagos Free Zone. The consortium, through a special purpose vehicle, Optimera Energy LFZ Enterprise, signed a gas infrastructure development agreement with the Lagos Free Zone to formalize their engagement. The Managing Director and CEO of LFZ, Mr. Dinesh Ratthi, says the transaction is unique in the history of Nigeria's downstream sector, where reputable upstream, midstream and downstream companies have come together to ensure gas supply to LFZ, the sunrise economic epicenter of West Africa.
Something big is coming to the Lagos Free Zone, the 830-hectare budding industrial hub. These executives here, representing a consortium of oil and gas companies, are here to sign the dotted lines and officially formalize a gas infrastructure development for the Lekki Free Zone. The LFZ is strategic in nature from the economic point of view as a catalyst to spur industrialization in that zone and beyond. These entities want to be that catalyst to realize the industrialization goal with the use of gas.
Having reliable, dedicated gas infrastructure within the Lagos Free Zone will add tremendous value not just to the existing customers, but will also increase the zone's attractiveness to future customers.
Under this arrangement, the consortium, through the special purpose vehicle Optimera,
would deliver pipe gas by early 2024. We hope even earlier, to all enterprise within the Lagos Free Zone.
They will build a natural gas pipeline infrastructure and deliver gas at the LFZ for the purpose of power, industrialization, and general social well-being of the average Nigerian citizen.
So if a company is coming into the Lagos Free Zone today, it's not just the tax benefit that they will get, they also get the benefit that gas is at their doorstep. And that is a critical enabler to encourage more investment. And we hope that once that infrastructure is put in place, we're going to see, huge uptake by many companies who want to invest in the Lagos Free Zone.
We had anticipated that gas would be something that would be the fuel for the future. And we have lots of gas resources. So ahead of time, we have formed the company called Efficient Gas. And Efficient Gas is the company that we're using to actually make these projects.
The companies, wholly Nigerian entities, say they are natural fits who share the same values, have the same business principles, committed to overall standards of doing business in ethics and performance.
MD Western, yes. So this will be all of it. Very good outside.
The initial volume is 5 million scf of gas per day and will grow to over 20 million scf of gas daily, which is significant volume to deliver. Essentially, some of those volumes that are currently being flared, pinning down the Group Managing Director NNPC's drive for increased domestic gas utilization.
Well, that's all from the nation's capital. Business News is next with Ann Waudu.
Banking, so easy, so simple. Dial *894# now to experience it. You first, First Bank.
Thanks a lot, Terry. Key players in the insurance industry across the West African region are set to put in place frameworks or greater integration, efficiency and cooperation in the insurance sector. This is just as the Commissioner for Insurance, Mr. Sunday Thomas, is calling on the College of Insurance Supervisors of the West African Monetary Zone to develop documentation processes that will help build a point of reference for improved supervisory activities in the West African region. The National Information Technology Development Agency has alerted businesses and organizations operating in Nigeria of an impending spillover of cyber attacks due to Russia-Ukraine conflict. The statement released by the agency called for more precautionary measure to be taken as the ongoing conflict between both countries, which started in February this year, had increased cyber attacks on businesses and government organizations. It also adds that businesses and organizations should strengthen their cyber defenses. And to the stock market now. The domestic market is down for a second time this week. It reacted to more profit-taking and activities by investors of some bellwether stocks. John Mekwa has the details.
Thank you so much. Welcome to the stock market report. Well, more profit taken by investors at the Nigerian exchange has driven the all-share index further to the bearish zone. Investors' interests were very much on Jaiz Bank, Transcorp and GT Code, mostly profit-taking activities on those stocks, and that put them on the top trades for the day, with Jaiz and Transcorp gaining, but GT shedding 5 kobo. Zenith also contributed to that. It lost 25 kobo at the close of trading today. With this, of course, the banking sector retains its status from yesterday. It's negative, and so does the consumer goods sector. It was down more than 0.5%, and that's no thanks to the huge decline of 3.75 naira from the share price of flour mill. Industrial goods counter just managed to escape the negative sentiment, and looks like that should be credited to WAPCO. We gained 20 kobo today. Now, remember MTN Nigeria, that has been lifting the market this past days. Well, it's on the flip side today. It shed 4.50 naira. No doubt investors are ready to take those profits they've been building up this past days. And this may just be the beginning of a pullback indeed, but it could also have its own benefits. You just have to look closely. That's a stock market report. I'm John Mekwa.
Thank you, Ines. For other major markets around the world, let's see how they fared today. With that, we end Business News tonight. Thank you for watching. I'm Anne Nwawadu. It's back to you, Amarachi.
Banking, so easy, so simple. Dial *894# now to experience it. You first, First Bank.
Talks to end the war between Russia and Ukraine have been halted, with both sides blaming each other for the collapse. In the meantime, Ukraine has confirmed hundreds of its fighters trapped in the Azovstal steel plant in Mariupol have been evacuated. Simon Pusey has more in Around the World in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the Channel Studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. Ukraine has confirmed that hundreds of its fighters trapped for more than 2 months in Mariupol's Azovstal steelworks have been evacuated. About a dozen buses carrying Ukraine fighters who are holed up beneath the besieged plant were seen leaving the huge industrial site in the southern port city. Russian state-run media outlets also posted footage of what they say were injured Ukrainian soldiers being evacuated from Azovstal. Deputy Defence Minister Hanna Mailer said 53 badly wounded soldiers were taken to a town held by Russian-backed rebels and said another 211 were evacuated using a humanitarian corridor to get to another rebel-held town. It's thought they were released in exchange for Russian prisoners of war. Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelensky said, "We hope that we will be able to save the lives of our guys." Meanwhile, Turkey's president has restated his opposition to Finland and Sweden joining NATO just hours after they said they would seek membership. In a news conference, Turkish President Tayyip Erdogan said the Swedish and Finnish delegations should not bother coming to Ankara to convince it to approve their NATO bid. He is angered by what he sees as their willingness to host Kurdish militants. The jailed Kremlin critic Alexei Navalny has opened an appeal process for a 9-year prison sentence on charges that he and his allies say are politically motivated. After a brief start to the hearing on Tuesday morning, the court said it would resume the process on May the 24th, following a request to postpone from Navalny. His hearing comes as Russian authorities seek to silence remaining government critics, and Moscow pushes on with its military campaign in Ukraine. France's new Prime Minister, Elisabeth Borne, is the first woman to hold the job in more than 30 years and says she hopes to inspire young girls.
Je suis évidemment très émue ce soir et je ne peux pas m'empêcher d'avoir une pensée.
I want to dedicate my nomination to all little girls and tell them to go all the way pursuing your dreams, she said in her inauguration speech. The engineer has been described as a left-wing technocrat. She served most recently as Labour Minister under President Emmanuel Macron. Mali's interim government has said that Western-backed military officers attempted a coup last week without providing details or evidence.
Dans le dessein malsain de briser la dynamique.
In a live TV appearance, a government spokesman said the alleged coup took place on the night between May the 11th and May the 12th. The accusation against Westerners marks a fresh low between Mali and its old international allies, who for a decade aided the West African nation in its fight against Islamist insurgents. The junta took power in their own coup in August 2020. Ethiopia's finance ministry says the World Bank has agreed a $300 million grant to help with reconstruction and recovery in conflict-hit areas. Fighting erupted in the northern Tigray region in November of 2020 and spilled over into neighbouring Afar and Amhara last year. Though there are still sporadic reports of fighting, the war has eased since a unilateral ceasefire by the federal government was announced in March. Ethiopia's finance ministry said the grant would be used for activities designed to support basic services such as health, education and water supply. The Cannes Film Festival red carpet has been rolled out hours before movie stars and directors are expected to arrive for the opening ceremony. The festival is gearing up for a bumper 75th anniversary edition. After 2 years of COVID, this year the parties are back and Hollywood heavyweights will include Tom Cruise's Top Gun Maverick, bringing the star to Cannes for the first time in 3 decades, as well as Baz Luhrmann's Elvis biopic, starring Austin Butler and Tom Hanks. And 62 competitors, including women and children, entered the 9th edition of the Robert Sport Surf competition in Liberia. Located northwest of Liberia's capital city of Monrovia, a few kilometres from the Sierra Leone border, the small fishing town of Robertsport is well known by surfers around the world for its high-quality waves. While the sport is taking off on the Liberian coast, it is still far from professional. The eventual winner, Morris, worked early in the morning sorting out fish on the beach before his heat. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the Channel studios in Lagos.
Thank you, Simon, and welcome to Sports News. Rangers head coach Giovanni Van Bronckhorst says his side are determined to win the Europa League in the final showdown against Frankfurt in Seville. A victory would earn the club its first cup on the continent since Rangers beat Dynamo Moscow 3-2 in Barcelona to lift the Cup Winners' Cup in 1972. On the flip side, Frankfurt head coach Oliver Glasner says his team will take nothing for granted against Glasgow Rangers in tomorrow's clash. Frankfurt last won a European competition in 1980, defeating German rivals Borussia Mönchengladbach in the UEFA Cup. And Liverpool this evening ensure the Premier League title race will go to the final day of the season as the understrength quadruple chasers survived the scare to beat Southampton 2-1 after Liverpool defeated Chelsea on penalties in a grueling FA Cup final just 3 days earlier. Jurgen Klopp took a gamble with 9 changes at St Mary's. That's Sports News. Thank you for joining us. Back to you, Amarachi.
Thanks, Chris. And on our programming notes, the full interview of former national chairman of the APC, Comrade Adams Oshomole, comes up after this bulletin at 11 p.m. and also airs tomorrow, Wednesday, May 18th at noon on our program Political Paradigm, right here on Channels Television. And the main news again, 9 people are known to have died after a gas explosion in the Sabongeri area of Kano State. Vice President Yemi Oshibajo visited the scene, expressed condolences to the victims' families. That's it on the news at 10 tonight. Thank you for watching. I'm Amarachi Ubani. Good night.